folks.
What up? Welcome back once again to the Necro Zoo. I am Bone. And in this one, let's go ahead and add one more figure to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now today we will take a look at Wildcat. Now I have to be honest with you, although I did end up finding these in the wild about a month ago or more than a month ago. I bought 3 of them, one to keep in box, one to review, and one to have just in case I decide to do some custom work. Now, as far as the figure itself, wasn't really a lot of things to do to add to it as far as customizing and added details. I did a little bit of touch ups of paint and we did some mods for the articulation. Now, although this is a very coveted character by collectors and fans, not a lot of regular casual fans really know him. Now, he does look pretty inspiring in the packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at him. But first, he does come with your standard black DC Multiverse stand. Now, of course, these are not really needed, but sometimes they do come in useful. He also has his data file card. Pretty strange artwork that they used. If you look on the back of the box, you can see this as well. And it kind of looks like a rendering of the figure using a kind of park or monument background. Don't understand. They could have taken something directly from the comics because Wildcat does have a lot of cool, gritty images surrounding the boxing world, the seedy crime that sometimes accompanies it. So don't know why they really went with this image. Now on the back, you do have some information. Now, Ted Grant, old school crime fighter. I think he was like targeted by the mob or framed by the mob, and he decided to don a costume and fight for his vindication. Now, he is a great fighter, great boxer, but also into other kinds of martial arts. Did train Batman and Superman and a couple of other main characters, but he's also a big part in training the up and coming youth of the superhero community. Now, he has been portrayed in a lot of different media, like film, which is rather interesting, TV shows, of course, the comics. And where I remember him from the most is from Batman Brave and the Bold, the cartoon series, where this interpretation is one of my favorite ever of Wildcat being an old, grizzled, almost drill sergeant like character who really pushes Batman's patience, which is rather hilarious. But we'll hold on to this. Now, not surprisingly for, for McFarlane, no accessories at all. Something cool would have been maybe some soft goods, pullover, red boxing gloves. That would have been nice. But we get absolutely nada. Not even alternate wrapped hands where he could have had some like open grappling hands. Maybe we can find something in the fodder or later on look up something online to give him some alternate hands. Now, this was a gold label, so that kind of leaves the door open to get another version, as well as Wildcat usually has 2 different costumes that are standard to his attire. But let's go ahead and take a closer, more detailed look at the figure. First impressions, just a standard Wildcat figure. I mean, if you're not a huge comic aficionado or anything like that, you could buy this and just put it on your shelf. And of course, add him to your Justice Society of America display because he is a core member. And I mean, aside from giving him a black wash, which I may still do later on. I just added a couple of little details for now, but we'll take a look at that later on in the video. But like I said, some people were saying that he was a little slender. You could have had him a little bit more bulked up. But in all honesty, if you know any boxers or your standard boxer, they have a very different physique. It's a more lean, more wide backed physique, and that goes into a lot of training they do to have a powerful punch. But as it is, pretty nice looking figure. He does have a tiny bit of wash of a lighter kind of blue that goes across the body, some on the shoulders. So that was, a little bit of added effort from McFarlane. Now let's take a look at the head sculpt. It looks good at first glance. It's, nothing major. This is pretty much his portrayal in a lot of the artwork. Now, there is little slight variations that you get in the comics, but this pretty much does the job. The only thing, maybe you can alter the way the ears are, but besides that, it's a classic Wildcat. Let's go ahead and take a look at the articulation at the head. He looks down very well, pretty good. He looks up great. Almost all the way up, and that is without any sort of modding, so that's great. You got right to left, and of course you could tilt his head for some character. Pretty good, so no complaints yet. Nice lean physique, wide shouldered, and going down to some pretty muscular thighs. So I love this body book for this figure. I could see where he could be a little bulkier, but I pretty much prefer him in this leaner physique. Got a T-pose. Let's take a look at the articulation. Of course, you got the waist side to side, tilt-a-whirl. It is a little bit stiff. And of course, you have non-existent forward crunch, but you can lean them back a good amount. So that is some of the modding that we'll do later on. I'll give them a lot more range in the waist, and I'll show it to you later on. Going down now into the shoulders, he does have that shoulder and socket bushing joint, bicep swivel, double jointed elbows that look pretty clean, not too choppy there. Down into the wrappings around the forearms, going down into the fists that are wrapped up. Now, this is a classic look for Wildcat, so it was mandatory that they give them this. So that's going to be the only original sculpt, is the sculpt on the forearms and the fists with the wrappings on them. So I get it. To keep this around a $20 figure, they didn't want to go, really crazy and add a lot in the package, just to keep it at that price point. Go down to the legs. He does have a slight thigh swivel, but it is a little bit tight. Kick up relatively well. Kick back really far. You can flex those soft plastic trunks to get that range in the legs, and when you put them back, they go back to their original shape. Pop out his knee. He does have double jointed knees. Straighten them out, up and down, right to left, rocker, and of course, toe articulation. So nothing much to speak of in the lower body. He does have some very muscled thighs going down into the leg. You do get a transition of that purplish blue color into an all black scheme down at the boots. Now, take a look at him from the bottom. No tread, but he does have some identifying marks. Moving up the back, nice musculature going into the back, which is something I really love about McFarlane figures. They got that wide back where in the shoulder disc you can put his shoulders forward or put them back and give him that wide chested stance. But that really adds to the thickness of the back and your overall physique of the figure. So pretty cool. Nothing spectacular, but for a Wildcat figure, it does the job. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring out the DC Universe Classics versions of Wildcat. I do have the one that resembles this version closely, which is the purple version. Very nice looking Wildcat. Once again, as I said, they kind of matched it exactly as the DC Universe Classics figure. That, you got the head, you got the regular bodysuit, you have the taped up fists. The only difference being that the DC Universe Classics did do the feline feet, where he has those little talons, and you can see the open toes in the foot region. Now, there is an other alternate version, which is a black version of Wildcat. Now, that's what I was saying at the beginning, that he usually comes in two colors. Once again, leaving the opportunity open for McFarlane to do another version. Now, let's get into the little things I did. Of course, I went ahead and retouched the head sculpt. Now, they did release an image before they released the figure, and it had a slightly different detailed paint. Like, you had a lot of black around the mouth and more shading around the eyes. So I went in and really did that on this head. You can see where I added some dark around the shape of the face and around the whisker area, giving it a little bit more definition and adding what I feel is a little bit more depth to the face sculpt. Now, I also added a little bit of tint of blue around the mouth, which is to give that 5 o'clock shadow look. And once again, added some black wash around the corners of the cowl and on the edges of the mouth to give it a little bit more life. Now, I also touched up the wraps for the fist and the forearms, giving it a slight little dark wash. Now, I didn't go crazy because I did it really quickly, but I just made a wash and swiped it across and then wiped off the excess. Well, even with that little detail, it gives them a little bit more style. Now, one thing I may want to do with that third figure, if McFarlane eventually releases a black version of the costume, I may end up wanting to do a bloody version, which a lot of times you see in the comic books. And I may even do it just, preemptively. I may take this one, go ahead and make a bloody version, adding blood to the wraps and the fist and a little bit on the face and the body, and then just open up that second one to have in his standard original release. But I do think the added paint to the head sculpt makes him look a lot better. Now, the only other thing I did was add articulation. Doing this by taking apart the body and doing the mods. Now, a couple of videos ago, I did my how to mod Superman video. If you check that out, you'll pretty much see what I did on this one. But what it does do is it adds so much range to the waist. Now look at how much he could lean from side to side. Really loosened up the lower swivel and the upper chest swivel. And you're able to get him in just a lot more cool twisted poses. And of course, I added a better forward crunch. So now he could get a lot more range bending forward. Of course, this allows for better posing and figure photography. But that's pretty much all I did. I mean, I loosened up the legs as well to give them a lot more swivel and just feels a lot freer and looser and allows you to get them in poses that you normally would have a difficult time getting into. So that's your Wildcat figure. I mean, not the best, but he is mandatory for the Justice Society of America. Now, we are building a really good roster for the J.S.A. We are waiting on a couple more like Dr. Fate. And of course, aside from these 4 members that I'm showing, there's the Spectre. I have a custom Hawkman, and we're waiting for Our Man, as well as Atom Smasher, who I've added here in a custom. But the Justice Society of America is a large group of heroes. So anyways, guys, I know this one's a little bit late, but you know me as always. I'm not in a hurry. I take everything as it is, but you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.